Hi guys, welcome back to my Flosstube. My name is Little Snips, otherwise known as Sarah. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. If you're a new viewer, thanks for checking somebody new out. I know I've had a few new subscribers, so hello, welcome to my Flosstube channel. I hope you enjoy what you see. If you've gone back and watched some of my older videos, I hope you're having a good time catching up. Today is November 22nd, 2017. It is the day before Thanksgiving in the United States. So if you're in the States, I hope that you are ready to have some fantastic company and food tomorrow, or whenever you celebrate Thanksgiving, if it's this week. I hope that you are managing to avoid all of the family drama, and I hope you're going to be relaxed and rested and probably not happy to go back to work on Monday if you go back to work, but hopefully you'll have a good time. That's my hope for all of you. And I'm already starting with the itches, so sorry about that. Yeah, sorry, little pause there. I wanted to, first and foremost, let me get this out of the way. Last video, I told you that I had a snake that was not doing well, and I asked you for good thoughts and wishes. I appreciate all of the good thoughts that I did get from people. I appreciate the comments and the positive energy. Unfortunately, he died that night. So, you know, whether it was me mentioning him or was just his time or whatever, he fought a good fight. But unfortunately, he did pass away that night, the night of the video. So again, thank you for your good thoughts. They are doing a necropsy on him, so hopefully whatever caused his death will help inform some reptile vets, some exotic vets, because the vet that we were working with didn't really know what was going on, and we didn't for that matter. But yeah, he did pass away. His name was Demetrius. He was a great snake, and he will be missed, and it seems silly to be sad about a snake, I know, to some people. They don't cuddle you like cats or dogs do, but I still like them. And I'm not going to get any more emotional about that because that's not what you're here for. So anyway, again, thank you for your good thoughts. The rest of the snakes are doing great, and we have plans for breeding, and we have, you know, plans for hopefully recovering some of the, anyway, you don't want to know about that. Right, snakes, all good. Everybody else is fine. Thank you for your good thoughts. I'll stop talking about it. Right. So what you are here for is stitching, of course. Oh, one person I know, and I will go through and check my my comments. I know that people have been leaving comments and I haven't been responding to them. I've been busy, but one person did mention that she hoped that I would get back to showing some more diamond painting. I haven't touched my diamond painting since the last time I showed you where I was. So when I get some done, I promise you I will show it. I apologize for the fact that I've sort of fallen off on that front. I love everything that I have and I really want to get to it. But as I've told you before, I'm a magpie. I get into phases. And the diamond painting, unfortunately, I have a lot of things that I do, a lot of crafts that I do. And the diamond painting right now is unfortunately kind of on a side table. I'm trying to work through some other things, and when I get back to it, I will, and you will see it, because, you know me, I like to show things off. So, that said, oh, and the hat today, I'm having a bad hair day, and it just wasn't something that I could make look decent enough that I was comfortable with it. I know we're not supposed to be focused on what we look like because people aren't here for a fashion show, but it was just bad. And so the hat. Hopefully you can still see my face. You can see that there's some like I have some weird lighting effects. Like I have sunlight from the blinds in my window that doesn't normally come through, but I haven't filmed at this time of day in quite a while, so it's pretty early for me anyway. I'm trying to film before my husband gets home because he has a half day at work because holiday, yada yada. So I hope you can see my face. I hope everything comes through clearly for you, and let's get started with the stitchy stuff because I have things to show you. So what did I work on in the last 2 weeks? I worked on, the first thing I worked on, actually, I'm going to show you, is a Millville kit And I don't know if I've showed this on the channel before. So I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. Well, I think I might have shown it to you when I bought it, but I don't think I've showed it to you stitched. So here's what it's supposed to look like. It is the winter holiday bird. Will you focus? Maybe. Winter holiday bird, Mill Hill kit. He's kind of cute. And I've been picking away at this slowly but surely. I'm not a fast stitcher, as I've said before. So, but I did get some work done on this recently, like I said, within the last 2 weeks. My rotation, I think I explained last time, but my rotation is I work on something that when it comes up in my rotation until I reach a particular goal. And I don't necessarily set the goal ahead of time. It's just while I'm stitching, I think, I could stitch until I finish this much, and then I'll put this down and I'll move on to the next project, which is what I did with this guy. Trying to figure out how to show him to you without, so you can see it without being distracting. It's difficult. We all know the struggle, right? Anyway, this is where the bird is right now. Sorry about the glare on the paper. This is where the bird is right now. I finished all of the stitching, so the actual stitching is finished, and I finished my finished goal after I did the stitching part was to do all of the beading. To do all of the magenta beading. So the magenta beading is finished. So the edge here, the boots, that kind of thing. And then I put it away to move on to my next project in rotation. So I don't have deadlines for this, obviously, or I would just have powered through and finished it. I am having a lot of fun with the beading, though. I do beadwork on its own, so, and I'll show that to you at some point, but I do beadwork on its own, so I really do like beads. I don't do a lot of beading on stitching, at least I haven't in the past, though I have some projects that are coming up that will need beading. So I like beads. I'm comfortable with beads. So this was a lot of fun. Beading this little thing was a lot of fun. I have not beaded on perforated paper before, so that was interesting. The paper tends to bend and flex a little more, which is odd because you would think if you're beading on fabric, obviously the fabric is going to move, so it shouldn't be a problem that the paper bends and flex. And I have done a little bit of beading on fabric before. Most of my beadwork is done bead to bead, so it tends to be pretty stiff and it doesn't bend or flex a lot. But it's weird. It was weird and interesting at the same time, if that makes any sense. And then what else? Oh, then I moved on to the next project up in my rotation, which is the Birthstone Dragon sampler by Brittany, Ingleside Imaginarium. You guys have all seen this. You guys know I'm way behind on this. November is out, and a lot of people have already finished it. December will be coming up shortly. I'm back on February. Slow Stitcher, Magpie. It all fits in there. Last time I showed this to you, I had finished the January Dragon. That was several months ago, I think. So I will show you what I've done now, which is not a lot, because this was the last project that I worked on in the last 2 weeks. So this is still in progress. Oh my gosh, my nose. I'm so sorry. This is still in progress. So there's the January Dragon, and this, well, you can't see my finger. Anyway, this part, nope, this part over here. The beginning of the second block, so I can put the February Dragon. Gotta slow down sometimes, you know. The February Dragon. So I can put the February Dragon on the fabric. Is where I am right now. I'm finishing the border on that particular block, and then my goal for the moment is to finish at least one color on February before I move on to the next project. So you will see this again next time. There will be more progress on this for my next video. I did remember to take a picture of it, so I'll be able to insert where I was and how far I've gotten. So, go me. But yeah, that's what I worked on most recently, is the Ingleside Imaginarium Birthstone Dragon sampler. I'm pretty excited to see what the sampler for next year is. I will talk about plans and things like that, what I'm thinking about for next year a little bit later, but I am interested to see what at least the clue or the first I don't know, the first image, full image that we see of the sampler for next year is, or if we even see the full image. Brittany has shown a couple sneak peeks of what she's working on for the sampler for 2018. And I'm excited. So we'll see how it goes. The other thing I worked on, as you know, I have a couple projects that I keep beside me that I work on or try to work on every day in rotation, and on top of the things that I'm going through in my actual rotation. So the one I've been working on most recently is the Bands of Variation sampler by Doreen Jones that's going on in the Lakeside Needlecraft group. And I will insert a picture of where this was the last time you saw it here. And then this is where it is this time. So as you can see, I have done some more work. Obviously, I had finished the red block, the first block, in October. This was the October block. So I had finished that. And I like this pattern because, or this stitch along, because these blocks are small enough that I actually have a chance of finishing them. Now, granted, I am putting dedicated effort into trying to do that. So it makes a difference, obviously. But I like the size of these blocks. So this is the November block, this part here, which transitions from the variegated red to the variegated orange. It says when it is completed, make each day your masterpiece, which is a quote by John Wooden. And somebody figured out who he was, and I forget who he is. So I apologize that I can't fill you in on that, but I actually like the fact that there's words and writing in this. And I'm expecting that the December block will be more solidly variegated orange. We'll see. I don't know. But, like I said, I do like the size of these blocks. I am happy that I'm pretty sure I'll be able to finish this by the end of November, which means I will be ready for the block in December, which means I'm actually keeping up with a stitch along, if you can believe that. I'm shocked. You're probably shocked. But I'm definitely shocked that I'm keeping up with it. So, that's what I worked on. And that really is what I stitched on. Mostly because, as I showed you in the last video, I'm working on the crocheted dragons. I have some commissions for those, and so that's been taking up the majority of my time for the past couple of weeks. Obviously, I do get some stitching time in between making dragon pieces and putting them together, but the majority of my time has been focused on crocheting dragons, and so there's not been a lot of stitching. What there has been, and I'm not sure whether to call this, well, there's been some haul, so not a ton of haul, technically. I'm not sure exactly what to call this. We recently got notified that our storage unit terms and conditions were being changed, and my husband decided that that was the end of his interest in having things stored at this particular storage site, at least, and that we needed to go and clean out the storage unit. We had already been sort of picking and pulling things out of there, so it wasn't completely full, but there was still quite a bit. I'm currently still going through that stuff, which is interesting. I mean, things have been in my storage unit for, how long? 3 years? Then the general rule, I think, is if it's been in storage for a while and you haven't missed it, you don't need it, so you should just throw it away. But we decided to go through the boxes, open the boxes, and go through them and see what's in there. And I found some interesting things, some things that I had been missing and was sure was in the storage unit somewhere, but I wasn't exactly sure where. Some of them are pretty cool. I'm not going to show you everything I found, because I found quite a bit of stitching stuff, but I will show you some things that make me pretty happy. The other thing that I did is in the vein of following the lead of both Katies, Katie the Stash Queen and Kate the Queen of Starts. I got some Facebook, well, theirs aren't necessarily from Facebook. I think Katie's was, but I think Kate's came from eBay. It doesn't really matter. It's somebody else's stash that they are passing on, selling, that they are doing so in bulk for a very reasonable price. Someone suggested looking on Facebook Marketplace for things local, and I made the mistake of doing that. So I found someone who was selling some cross-stitch magazines that I went and picked up. I'm not going to show you all of those. There were 9 bags of magazines, and oh my gosh, my ear is so itchy. There were 9 bags of magazines. There were a lot of magazines. Definitely worth what I paid for them. I paid $45 for 9 bags. They range from anywhere from 1992 to 2013. So there's a huge range of styles and trends, and some of it is very outdated. Some of it is hilarious. Looking at some of these magazines, especially from the 90s, the advertisements in particular just crack me up. Clearly, I know some people have talked about people saying, oh, why do you cross stitch or crochet or whatever, but why do you cross stitch? That's an old woman's craft. You are not an old woman. You should not be sitting in a rocking chair cross stitching, doing handcrafts. You know, that's a grandmother thing to do. Well, the magazines back in the 90s pretty clearly thought that that was a grandmother thing to do, because the advertisements are hilarious. I mean, the advertisements are for, you know, do you need a walk-in bathtub? Do you need a bathtub that you can sit down in? But particularly walk-in bathtubs. There are advertisements for big button flip phones. So big button, large number, don't do anything but make phone calls. So you don't have to worry about the bells and whistles of emails and taking pictures and things like that. There's lots of advertisements for joint supplements. There's lots of advertisements for, you know, wrist gloves and how to treat your arthritis if you're going to stitch. There are lots of things saying stitch this, or isn't cross stitch great as a present for your grandchildren? You know, things like that. So those are pretty funny. It's pretty funny to, you know, flip through a magazine and see just advertisement after advertisement for people who are, the advertisements were obviously targeted for people, you know, at retirement age, which is great. But cross-stitching, as we all know, is not just for retired people. So I find it really funny. The patterns, of course, in some of those magazines are quite dated. The thing that is really interesting is the fonts. Like, we have, because there were samplers, there are a lot of sampler patterns, and there are things just with words on them, birthdays and stockings and that kind of thing. I find it really interesting to see how we have evolved in translating computer fonts or decorative fonts to cross-stitching. Because let me tell you, in the 90s, pretty much all the way through the 90s, I think, most of the font was just backstitching. So it wasn't really a font, it was just backstitching words onto your canvas or your fabric. Now, of course, we have all sorts of, you know, scroll work and images and, you know, fonts that have teddy bears and sports items and whatever you want. You can invent fonts, which makes the samplers and things that have words on them a lot prettier, in my opinion. But back in the day, that did not exist in cross-stitching. So it's interesting to see these beautiful samplers with this, like, weeny teeny little backstitched font in the middle of it. Doesn't fit. So if I happen to stitch any of those, I will probably go looking for fonts that are more elaborate, that sort of fit the pieces better, because, yeah, the backstitching on a lot of those pieces really doesn't. But that's what we knew how to do. That's what designers knew how to do. And yeah, that's what we had. I mean, nobody really complained about it at the time, I don't think. It was just, that's the way it goes. So that's interesting. But let me show you the actual haul, the haul that was intentional haul, before I get into all of the stuff that I found and the stitchy haul. Holly Stitch? Stitch haul? I don't know. Anyway. So yeah. So last month I showed you that I got the October freebie. Excuse me for leaning in close to the pattern, or camera. I know that's a little disturbing sometimes. So last month I told you that I got the October pattern of the month from Stoney Creek, which was the spring snowman. Actually, I can show you the spring snowman. It was this guy up here. Can you see that? Not in a block of sunlight. You can't. Anyway, it was that guy. Was the free pattern on the Stoney Creek website. This month I got the second of the free patterns, in that obviously the whole project is going to be all of these seasonal snowmen. Spring, going the wrong way. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter snowmen. So I got, this month I got the November freebie pattern. So it is the summer snowman, which I still think is weird to have a summer snowman. Spring I can kind of get behind. Summer snowman I don't understand, but it's part of the pattern, so what are you going to do? But that is the summer snowman. Wow, that sunlight thing is really going to be distracting, isn't it? Anyway, Summer Sun, the November 2017 freebie pattern from Stoney Creek. I also did get the buttons, so there are little, if you can see them, there are little seagull buttons that are going to be stitched onto that piece when it's finished. So, no idea when that'll get stitched. I'm just sort of collecting the freebie patterns because aside from shipping, they're free. Now, granted, if you buy the buttons like I did, you have to pay for the buttons, but if you're going to do the pattern, you might as well get the buttons that are included, unless you have the ability to make buttons. Some people can. I'm sure somebody could make polymer clay seagulls. I just thought it was easier to buy the buttons, so I did. The second thing, and this is going to crinkle, and I apologize for that, but you got to crinkle when you open things. So the second thing I got is a pattern that I've been looking at for quite a while at one of my local Joann's. I know a couple of people are stitching this or have stitched this or have acquired it. This is the Jim Shore 12 Days of Christmas pattern. It looks like this. Whoop. It looks like this. And I'm going to try to straighten it. There we go. But it is the Jim Shore 12 Days of Christmas. It is almost entirely full coverage. The white in the background that is showing is not stitched, but that's about the only thing that isn't. So this may be a full coverage Fanatic piece. We'll see. But I've been looking at this for a while, and it's a relatively expensive. Well, this is not just the pattern. This is the kit. So I got the pattern and the fabric and the floss and all of that at Joann's. It's a relatively expensive kit, though. And so I've been sort of waffling about buying it because who knows when I'll stitch it. I like it a lot, but it's one of those things where, do I really want to buy it? I've been buying a lot of things. I have a lot of projects that I'm working on. I don't know when I'm going to start it. And then I took my husband to Joann's because we were out doing errands and I needed to get something, and so we just went in quickly. And he went into the cross-stitch section with me, like he does, and he saw this pattern. And he said, wow, as I've told you, my husband is a big fan of backstitch. He likes things that are defined by backstitch. And he looked at this and he said, wow, look at all the backstitch on that. That's going to look amazing when it's finished. I really like that pattern. Now, my husband doesn't usually enthuse about cross-stitching. When I show him things, he's like, oh, yeah, that's nice. It looks good. Sometimes he enthuses. Sometimes he picks out things that he wants. But for the most part, he's sort of a, yeah, it's great. Fine, whatever, do your thing kind of husband. So for him to go and find something on his own, I didn't point this out to him at all, but for him to go and find something on his own and tell me how cool it would look and enthuse about the amount of backstitching, which I don't like, but he does, in it, was sort of like, I guess I kind of ought to consider more strongly buying this because he likes it. I pointed out the price to him at the time and I said, it's kind of expensive, and he said, yeah, but you have a coupon. So it's going to be less than that. And if you use the coupon, it's no big deal. It's really not that expensive, which is true. It comes down to being a normal price as opposed to being what I consider expensive. But so I didn't buy it that day because that's not why I was at the store, but I went back another time to get something else, some yarn probably because of the dragons. And it was still there, and I still had a coupon. Actually, I think I went on a day when, no, I didn't. Never mind. I was going to say it was a day when everything was some percentage off, but it wasn't. I had a coupon though, and it made a difference, and I bought it. There you go. The other thing that I deliberately bought as haul, someone mentioned in a Flosstube video, and I'm sorry I can't remember who it is, somebody mentioned that Nene Thomas, who does fantasy art, fairies, and all sorts of things, was charting her own cross-stitch patterns. I think she used to be sponsored, or not sponsored, but she used to be charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, and then she decided to do her own charting for her cross-stitch patterns, and as I like Nene Thomas, I had to go and look. And I did find them, and I did buy one. So this is one of her carousel horses, and the sunlight, a little crazy, but this is one of her carousel horses. Which way makes it easier? That way. This is the Carousel Horse Angel White. I think this is the first one in the series. There are 5 of them that she's done. This is the first one in the series, and as you can see, it's a carousel horse with a little thin line of border behind it. Now, I like carousel horses. My husband likes carousel horses. This is as it's charted, mind you, as it's charted, this is a full coverage piece, which I did not realize. I thought that it would just be the band of the background and then the horse. Well, no. As it's charted, all of this is stitched, which means this band of white and this band of white are included in the chart. So, the question is whether I should stitch this as it's charted as a full coverage piece and be able to use it in the Full Coverage Fanatics group for some project. One of the January challenges, is fantasy and silver and white, so this would fit exactly into the challenge. However, if I take the white off, it's not full coverage. Now, there's a technicality, it has to be 95% stitched. I could probably put this, I could probably put this in the group and ask if, and I probably will, ask if this would count. Because my inclination, because it's a white and gray horse with this white and gray winter background, I mean, it's a very wintry sort of piece. My inclination would be to dye a piece of fabric like a blue, like a wintry blue, wintry gray, blue sky color, and stitch the horse on that as just the band and the horse, and not worry about stitching the white background. What do you think? Would you stitch all of that white? Would that interest you in stitching all of that white? Now, I might, if I were to stitch all of that white, I would probably do it on a blue fabric anyway, just because the thought of stitching that much white on white fabric, just like, my brain just doesn't want to even contemplate that. But would you stitch the white? Because I don't think, with the horse being this pale color, again, look at how pale he is. He's silver and gray. With the horse being that color and the background being wintry, I don't know that it needs the white background. I think it would look better on blue. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So this may not count for full coverage, and I will stitch it anyway. I was going to start it at the beginning of the year, but we'll see. Anyway, Nene Thomas, you can find these on her website, and like I said, there's a series of 5 of them. They are kind of expensive. They are not, $7 patterns, whatever. They're relatively big, good size. I mean, this says it's on 22 count cloth. It is 27.3 by 18.9 inches. The design is 600 stitches wide. So it's a big piece of art. It's a big pattern. I don't know. I think blue. Right. So that was my intentional haul. That's the stuff that I bought that I knew was going to count as haul, and it was stuff I bought before we cleaned out the storage unit and before I found those magazines. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause the video so I can gather up some of the things that I found so I can show you, and I will come right back. So hang on one second. Okay, I'm back. Now, I should say, well, no, let me show you some of the stuff first, and then I will do my disclaimer in a minute. So, in cleaning out the storage unit, as I said, I found a bunch of kits that I knew I had, but I didn't know exactly where. I thought some of them were probably lost, and some of them really upset me to think that I had lost them. Some of them are common kits that you have all seen and possibly stitched yourself. Some of them are kits that you may not have seen, or patterns that you may not have seen. I think I have some magazines that have patterns in them that not a lot of people have seen, but some people, and I'm looking at you, Pip Stitch, and there's another person that I just recently started watching, and she'd be interested in them too. Anyway, that's the disclaimer part. That's for later. Right now, let me show you some of the stuff that I found. You guys have probably all seen this Dimensions kit. It is the Asian butterfly. It was everywhere in all of the big box stores a while back. But I really like that. My mom likes butterflies, so every once in a while, butterfly things really appeal to me. I like Asian things, and so the combination of the butterfly and the Asian things really caught my attention, so I bought it. And in true Sarah Magpie fashion, I started stitching it. Which way is up? This way is up. So I started stitching it, and you can, good. So I got the characters. Got all of the kanji stitched in that go on the sides, and then in true Sarah Magpie fashion, I went on to something else. So this is on its dimensions kit, as you saw. It is on obviously printed fabric. The design in the background is part of the pattern, and yeah. So that's number one. That's the first one that I found, and it is a kit. I have all of the floss and the pattern and everything. This one was the one that, when I say that I was sad that I had lost some patterns, this is one of the ones that I was really upset about, the fact that I had lost it. And I was reminded of it recently because I saw somebody, again, another Flosstube video, somebody has either got it in their stash or has completed it or something. I saw a picture of it in somebody else's video, and it reminded me that I didn't know where my copy was, and I was fearing that I would never find it. Well, I found it. As you know, I am a big fan of Native American things and Southwestern things, so there's this pattern. You guys have probably seen this one too, because for a while it was in quite a few box stores. I just love this pattern. I love it. So I was very sad by the fact that I thought I had lost it, and then thank you, storage unit, thank you, me, for not actually throwing it out, I found the kit. And this is, and like I said, typical Sarah. I bought the kit, I said, I really love this kit, I'm going to stitch it right now. And I started stitching it, and then I stopped and moved on to something else. Magpie Strikes Again. So that's as far as I am on that one. But I found it. I have it. I'm so relieved I can't even tell you. This one goes back a ways, guys. This is I think lavender and I'm pretty sure this is a lavender and lace. And this is the Firefly Fairies. You guys have seen this, and again, I've seen this recently. Somebody else has pulled this out recently. So the Firefly Fairies. And the idea behind this, when it came out, was that the fabric was supposed to be bleached so that you would get the glow effect, and then you would stitch the fairies appropriately on the fabric. Well, somebody, when the pattern first came out, so this, like I said, this is pretty old, somebody put together kits, and it wasn't Lavender and Lace itself, but it was somebody else who put together kits of fabric that they had already bleached, that they would send out, and it included I have all of the Krynic and the beads and everything for it. And I was also, this was another one where I was really sad about the fact that I could not remember where this was. I was pretty sure I still had it, but I hadn't thrown it out. But we did have an accident with some rain damage on some of my stuff some years ago, and I was terrified that this had been part of that damage and that it had disappeared in the cleanup from that. But it didn't. Look. I ordered the kit, and this is the piece of fabric that I got. Now, I haven't decided which way this will get stitched. The three little blops in there, I don't think are meant to be markers for the fairies. They could be, but I don't think they're meant to be. But this is the piece of fabric that I got when I ordered the kit. It is pre-bleached. I did not do this. And it's big enough to stitch on. Obviously, it needs to be finished so the edges don't fray. But I am so excited. I can't tell you how excited I am that I found this. When I will stitch this is anybody's guess, but I have the fabric, I have the pattern, I have the kit. I can do these Firefly Fairies, which I think are just adorable. And I loved them from the minute that I saw the pattern, and now I have it. Or rather, now I have it again. The other thing I found, well, okay, this actually should segue into the next section. So those are some of the things that I found that like I said, I knew I had them somewhere, wasn't sure where, was terrified that I would never find them again, and I found them, and I am relieved, and they are definitely going into the lineup of things that will be worked on in the future. Not necessarily 2018, though my urge to work on them all right now is very strong. But they will definitely be worked on and completed, and some of them, like the butterfly, I think could be a pretty quick finish, even with the speed at which I stitch. So, yeah, those are definitely going to come up in the future. You will probably see them. I hope you are excited to see how they progress the way that I am. And I'm mostly, like I said, hooray for storage units. Hooray for finding things that I thought were gone. So now, or not the rest, but more of the things that I found. And this is probably going to be a pretty long segment. So if you are not interested in hearing about the rest of the stuff that I found, or the things that make me happy that I found, then we can say goodbye now. The video is already 35 minutes long. I have to insert a couple of pictures, so it's going to be, what, 40 minutes long or so at this point. And it's not going to be things that I have actually made progress on. This is going to be things that are started. This is going to be things showing you where I am now, and it's all Teresa Wentzler. It is all Teresa Wentzler. Because I think, as I said in another video, an earlier video, was for sure, because she's no longer releasing patterns, but I am a huge Teresa Wentzler fan. I have a lot of her stuff. Not all of it, but I have a lot of her stuff. So like I said, this will be interesting to Pip Stitch, probably. And I'm going to figure out who that other person is. It'll come to me, like, in the middle of a description of something I'm showing you. But yeah, I am a huge Teresa Wentzler fan, and I had built up a large collection of Teresa Wentzler things, and then misplaced them. Or so I thought. Well, storage unit to the rescue again. So the first thing I found, and did I pull the picture? Hang on one second, let me pause this again because I need to get the picture. Hang on. Okay, I'm back again. I had to go find a picture of this pattern because I apparently lost the cover to the kit. But the first one that I found is Tradewinds by Teresa Wentzler, and I have it on my tablet, so hopefully this shows up okay. But, ooh, it's not going to do it, is it? This is the trouble that we all have with showing things on the tablet. So there it is, kind of. You can kind of see it. I wish it would show up better. It's a really pretty sailing ship. And it has mermaids on the sides of the frame, and it has dolphins in the top of the frame. And yeah, it's just not going to show you. So I will find a picture and I will insert it. And I will show you where I am. So this is as far as I got on Tradewinds. This is one that I think I had the threads for, but I didn't know where the pattern was, or no. Yeah, no, sorry. This is one I found the entire kit. So, there you go. This is where I am. Again, like I said, up here, camera. Up here in the top, there are dolphins. This over here is a mermaid, like a masthead on a ship. And then in the center, there is ocean and the ship, and it's really very pretty. You've seen it. I just inserted a picture of it. But, so I found that one, which is pretty exciting. I then found my Castle Sampler by Teresa Wentzler. One of the reasons why a lot of us like Teresa Wentzler is because she did a lot of fantasy things. She did lots of castles and dragons and mermaids and fairies and things like that. So if you were into those kind of things, Teresa Wentzler was definitely your woman. I mean, she definitely tapped into that fan base. So a lot of the things that I have patterns included are her fantasy things. I don't have all of her bell pulls and things like that because those didn't really appeal to me. But the fantasy stuff, pretty much I've got it. But I found my Castle Sampler kit. That's what the Castle Sampler looks like. With the castle in the center and the gorgeous, her borders are always gorgeous. The borders and all of the people down here at the bottom. So I found that one. And, as I said, in true Magpie Sarah fashion, I had started it. And I think, where did I... That's the top, okay. I thought it was the top, but I had to check. So this... Whoop, this... Oh, goodness. I had quite a bit started on it. It's nowhere near finished, but I did do the entire border. And I started doing the detailing on that top corner, as you can see. And I did some of the working up to the castle in the center there. So, I was pretty dedicated on this one for a while, and then I wasn't. But, found it again. It is definitely going into rotation at some point, and I will finish it. I also found, and this may be one that I thought I had found and then discovered that I didn't actually have the right pieces in the right package, but I found my Millennium pattern. Now this is obviously something that she released in the year 2000 to celebrate the Millennium. And it says, if you can't read the bottom, it says, "With the Lord, one day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as one day." I'm not a particularly religious person, but I like the sentiment of it anyway. And I love, 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 love the image. So I may, when I get to that point, I may put some other words in there. I don't know. I haven't decided that. I haven't gotten that far. But I did find the actual piece, the actual fabric. And, again, true Sarah fashion, I started it. Now, I didn't get nearly as much done on that one as I did on some of the others, but I did start it. And then I stopped. So that will go into rotation as well, because it has to. It's just, it's a given. If it's Teresa Wensler, it's got to go into rotation at some point. Horses. We have talked about the fact that in this house we love horses. We used to have horses. Fantasy, real horses are all good. So Teresa Wensler, on top of doing dragons and fairies and things like that, has a whole series of carousel horses, and she has rocking horses. So I found my rocking horses pattern book. This is all of them. You can buy these individually on Patterns Online, but this is the book of all of them. And on top of the fact that I found the pattern book, I discovered that I had started one that I don't remember starting, but I had started Sweetheart, which is this one. The gray with the Valentine's things on her, the hearts and everything. I had started her, and here's where that is. So, again, something that needs to be finished. Something I have to pick up and finish again. I'm not sure what, obviously this is some sort of Zweigart fabric. I think it's linen because it's a little bit slubby and not quite even weavy, but yeah, that's got to be finished at some point. And then the rest of them will be finished as well. But it's pretty exciting to find those things. What else did I find? This is just a kit. So I have not actually started this one. I didn't get to it. I have some other kits that I've already shown you that I didn't start either. But I did find this one, and it's still in the bag, so I don't know how glary this is going to be. We'll see. Hopefully it won't be too terrible. But I found the Guardian. So, as I was saying, she did a lot of dragons. So there's another dragon for you, another castle, another amazing border. This is a kit, as you can see. A Teresa Wensler kit that has not been opened. So, but another one that I thought that I had lost and that I found. I found, to my great relief, because finding all of these patterns is next to impossible, I found my Carousel Horses for All Seasons by Teresa Wensler. So, as I said, she did a whole series of carousel horses, four for the seasons, and this is the summer carousel horse on the front, and then the rest of them are on the back. I believe that you can find winter and fall on Patterns Online. I think it's spring, this one, that you can't find on Patterns Online. And since Teresa has stopped designing and stopped releasing anything, I don't know if it will ever be on Patterns Online, which is kind of sad, because it would be nice to be able to buy the whole collection. I'll have to double check again, but I think this is the one, spring is the one that is not there. The other three are available. It might be summer. It might be this one. But there are three of them. The fourth one is not there, unfortunately. Are you tired of Teresa Wensler yet? Because if you are, you're in for a long haul. Then I discovered that I had some old magazines, some old Just Cross Stitch magazines, and the reason that I kept them was because they have Teresa Wentzler patterns in them. You know how some magazines have tried and true designers that put things out for them constantly. Cross Stitch Gold or the Cross Stitcher, one of the two of them. The UK magazines have a lot of Joan Elliott patterns. They have a lot of Doreen Joan patterns. They have a lot of Leslie Tier patterns. I mean, all of the UK magazines get those designers to contribute, but it seems to me that like the Cross Stitcher, I think, and Cross Stitch Gold are consistently Joan Elliott. Cross Stitch Crazy. You know, they have designers that are sort of they're not really in-house designers, but they are designers that release patterns in their magazines over and over and over again. Well, Just Cross Stitch used to be Teresa's magazine. Teresa Wentzler used to release her patterns in Just Cross Stitch, or some patterns in Just Cross Stitch. I had a subscription back in the day, specifically, I think, because of that, probably. And I found some old magazines. So let me show you some of the things that I have in magazine form. And some of these you can get on Patterns Online, if not all of them. I did check before I made the video, so I will try to remember which were there and which weren't, though I'm not sure I can't remember which weren't. But anyway, the first one is Tapestry Cat. That is, Teresa has such an iconic design style that you can always tell when it's a Teresa Wentzler pattern. So that is Tapestry Cat, the fluffy, fluffy kitten with the amazing border. It's usually displayed as a pillow. I don't know that I would do a pillow that took that much work to complete. Teresa's patterns are very complicated and they take a very long time to stitch. And I don't know that I would want people leaning up against this. So if I do this Tapestry Cat, I will probably frame it. But Tapestry Cat. And if you need to know or want to know what issues of Just Cross Stitch those patterns are in, let me know and I will definitely tell you. Tapestry Cat you can get at Patterns Online, so you don't actually have to go looking for the pattern. The next one is the English Garden Welcome. Now she has an English Garden sampler and an English Cottage sampler. Those are two completely different patterns, and they are not this. This is the English Garden Welcome pattern. So, or English Garden, yeah, English Garden. I thought I said Cottage, sorry. English Garden Welcome pattern. So, separate patterns all along, but isn't that pretty? Isn't that just gorgeous? Love it. This one I don't recall seeing on Patterns Online, so it may not be there. Like I said, I don't remember. She has 6 pages of patterns, so I may have just missed it or just blanked it out, but I don't remember it being there. This is the Nativity. And it features one of her male angels. I'm not sure who that's supposed to be, which angel is supposed to be watching over Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus, but there you go. Nativity by Teresa Wentzler. This one kind of surprises me because I don't remember ever seeing this anywhere else, and I'm pretty sure he is not on the website. I was thinking that Michael was one of her angels, but Michael is a lavender and lace design, I think. So Teresa did Gabriel. And this was in a Just Cross Stitch as well. Let me stop bouncing him if I can. I'm trying to get him close enough that you can actually see the design. Isn't that gorgeous? And there are so few male angels that are done that anytime there's a male angel, I kind of just want to snap them up and collect them. I've said I have an angel thing despite not being particularly religious. I just like angels, and yeah. I am glad that I have that magazine. I'm glad that I found that magazine because I had completely forgotten about Gabriel, and now I have him back. 2 more. This is another one that I don't know is on Patterns Online. I don't recall seeing it. It may be there, and again, I just missed it, but I don't remember it being there. But this is the Birdhouse Bell Pull. She does a lot, or did a lot of bell pulls. She did fruit and floral bell pulls, and you can find those in booklets, and I think those both are online, on Patterns Online. But the Birdhouse Bell Pull, I don't remember seeing. It has the chickadee, the house wren, the bluebird, the titmouse, and the nuthatch. Are those birds. And then the last one I know for a fact is on Patterns Online, and this is another thing that's usually displayed or shown as a pillow. Don't know if I would do it as a pillow. Again, I'm not sure I would do this one at all. This is not exactly my style, but it's Teresa Wentzler, and so it kind of feels like I have to. Obligated to do Teresa Wentzler things. But this is the Persian floral pattern. This one, like I said, this one is for certain on Patterns Online. So if that is your aesthetic, if that is something that interests you, you can go and buy it for a reasonable price on Patterns Online. And that's all. I promise you that is all of the Teresa Wentzler I will subject you to. It is all of the stuff that I have found that I will subject you to. I promise you that I found much more than that. Like I said, I'm glad that I found it because I really was. Those are things that were in storage that I really did know were missing and really wanted to find and had not been able to until we cleaned everything out. That stuff plays into my plans for 2018, which I'm going to talk about now. If you are not interested in plans, again, I will see you in the next video, and thank you for watching. Plans. So I found a bunch of cross-stitch stuff. I bought a bunch of magazines. I have been buying relatively, I won't say willy-nilly, but I have bought quite a few things this year. To the point where my husband has commented a few times, which husbands do. That's what they do. They comment when you buy a new pattern when they know that you already have a shelf full of patterns that you haven't touched, right? That's what they do. So he hasn't really been complaining, but he has commented. And especially after the magazine haul, he said, what are you going to do with all of those? I said, I'm going to go through them. I'm going to pull the patterns that I'm interested in. And then I'm going to take the rest of them to my stitching group, and I'm going to see if they want them. And then perhaps whatever's left over, I will piece out, and I will follow in Bendy Stitchy Michelle's lead. And I will piece some of them out, and I will offer them to you guys if you want them. Assuming that Bendy Stitchy doesn't mind if I steal her format. But as I was going through some of the magazines and piecing things out and choosing patterns that I wanted to keep before I spread the joy, sprinkle the love, I realized just how much stuff I have, how many patterns I have, how many kits I have, how many projects I have on the go. And yet I find myself going and looking at 1, 2, 3 Stitch. I find myself looking at the things that you guys show and thinking, ooh, I'd really like to have that. I would really like to stitch that too. At this point, I'm probably, at the speed that I stitch, I have probably already reached Sable Stash acquisition beyond life expectancy, as Bendy Stitchy explained it. That is a term that I learned in the knitting world, the fiber world, but it applies to cross-stitching as well. So I probably already have stash beyond my ability to stitch all of it in the rest of my lifetime. My eyesight is already not great, and it's not going to get better probably, so magnifiers can only do so much. My hands are still good. I can still stitch. That's my blessing. I can still stitch, but for how many more years before it's next to impossible? I don't know. So I'm probably there. I have a lot of patterns. I have a lot of things, kits. And so it sort of made me take a step back and think, whoa, I have a huge wish list on 1, 2, 3 Stitch, but look at all the stuff that I already have. So for the future, I think the majority of my stitching is going to come out of what I've already got. It has to. There are a couple of things that I'm interested in. Like I said, I'm curious about the Ingleside Imaginarium stitch along for next year, for 2018. I love Doreen Jones, and I know she's going to release more stitch alongs with Lakeside Needlecraft, so that will probably be a weakness of mine, but I don't know what they are at the moment, and so for now I can say I don't need them right now. The one speculation that we're hearing is that the Clouds Factory sampler or stitch along for 2018 may be Mythology. I am a huge Mythology nut, among other things, but I am a huge Mythology nut, and if that is the case, that is the one stitch along that I will allow myself to buy for certain. If it's Mythology. If it's not Mythology, I'm not going to do it, probably. But if it is mythology, I will allow myself to buy that one, and then anything else that comes up is going to have to be on a trial, on an as it goes. Do I need it? Am I going to die if I don't stitch it? Can I wait until it's finished and buy it as a pattern when I've gone through a few of the things that I already have? Basis. Yeah. So my plans for 2018, I have some things that I've already picked out. I have some things picked out for my year of whips. I am going to participate in that in 2018, but I have some new things to add to my year of whips. I had made a list that hadn't quite reached 18 or 15, which is what you have to have in order to participate. Yeah, I'm there. I have 15 now. I have more than 15 works in progress that can be stitched on, so I'm good. I'm settled for things I can choose from to put in that list. I was not originally going to do Stitch from Stash because some people have said that it just encourages them to go shopping, and that is a weakness of mine as far as craft things go. So I was sort of worried that it would encourage me to spend money. But looking at the amount of stuff that I have, I might buy fabric, I might buy floss and beads and things like that that need to be added as embellishment to the pieces. But I'm pretty much good as far as patterns go. And the things that I want, some of those I can find elsewhere. Some of those might be in my magazines. I know I've found a lot of Joan Elliott patterns and a lot of Nora Corbett patterns that are on my wish list at 123 Stitch that I've now pulled from magazines, so I don't need them anymore. Yeah. So I think for the foreseeable future, except for things, little things like, you know, like the freebie patterns and things like that I'm only paying shipping on, I think I'm good. So I guess the bottom line is if you're watching me to see me stitch the new things that are coming out or to see new things that are coming out, yeah, that might not happen for a while because I have a lot of old things that I need to stitch. And they're beautiful. They're beautiful. That's the thing. That's what drove me kind of crazy when I realized how much stuff I had and how much stuff I had just acquired. These things are just as beautiful as the new patterns that are coming out. Yes, they are different in style. They're different in some colors. I know that we're going to start getting patterns in 2018 that have the new floss colors from DMC in them. And those threads are beautiful. And I need to... That's one more thing that I should probably buy is a set of the new colors. But the patterns that have come out before don't get ugly. It's not like if it appealed to you in the past, it probably still appeals to you for the most part. I mean, yes, our tastes change and sometimes you outgrow something that you have, which is a good time to pass the stash. But for the most part, if you liked it and you thought it was pretty in the past, you're probably still going to think it was pretty now. So, yeah. I am a magpie. This is the 27th time I've said that in this video. I collect shiny things. I definitely have FOMO. I'm going to try to sit on that really hard in 2018. Yeah, because I need to. Because I have a lot of things and I need to stitch through them. And I get why my husband sometimes says, you already have so much stash. Why do you need to buy another pattern? Why do you need to buy more fabric? Why do you need to buy more floss? Floss and fabric, we understand you need fabric and floss in order to do the patterns, so you have to continually add to your stash there. But I don't need to add to my pattern stash as quickly as I have been. I just don't. So I will be participating in the Year of Whips for 2018. I will be doing Stitch from Stash, though I'm not going to sign up and be accountable, I don't think, because that will definitely make me constantly aware of how much money I have or don't have. And that would be dangerous as far as buying things. So I don't think I'm going to be in the group and participating in the group and recording, you know, what I'm stitching and how much it's worth and that kind of thing. There was a magazine sale this year. I could do a magazine sale, and I will be stitching a lot of things from magazines. So I will be doing that in 2018. I kind of want to just do a stitch your old stash, Sal. Like, stitch your old stash. Let's do one. Let's do a stitch your old stash, Sal. I'll start it. I'll do the hashtag on Instagram, and I will just call it hashtag stitch your old stash. If you have old stash and you're interested in doing that, please join me for 2018. I might make a Facebook group. I don't know. Do I need to make a Facebook group, or can we just record it in other groups? I don't know. You tell me. If you want to stitch your old stash group, we'll do it. I probably will do that. But I don't know. We'll see. But I probably will. But we'll see. But I probably will. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be stitching my old stash. And some of that is going to be stuff from this year. Obviously, I have a lot of projects in progress right now, stuff that I started this year. Stitch-alongs from this year that I'm still working on, like the Birthstone Dragon. So that will be folded into Stitch Your Old Stash as well. But yeah, the accountability thing and keeping track of the money and stuff, that is the problem for me, and I think for a lot of people. But stitching from your stash, just generally, it should not be a problem. It's not going to be a problem for me. Like I said, I will be tempted by things. I guarantee you I'm going to be tempted by things, and I will probably crack and buy things because sometimes it's just too hard to resist. But yeah, I mean, I have an entire shelf over there that you can't see that is full of patterns. I have all of the stuff I just showed you now. I have all of the projects that are already in the works. I have a bunch of magazines on my computer. And I was going to buy some more, and I might. But there is one giant thing, or one giant pattern that I want to buy before the end of the year. And that is a pattern on Heaven and Earth Design that I'm actually going to do full size, which is kind of terrifying. I think I'm going to do it full size anyway. I was tempted to get a mini version of it, but I think I want it in the big size because it's just so beautiful, and I feel like it represents me. And yeah, so I may buy that pattern, but other than that, I think I'm done. At least for 2018. If I can get some of the stuff that I already have finished, because I've had exactly one finish this year. I might have a few more with some Christmas ornaments and things like that, but I've had one finish out of all the stuff that I've started. Two. Granted, the tablecloth was tedious and it felt like it took forever and it was huge, but I finished it. And my aunt's garden thing, garden pattern by Ursula Michael, Let's Garden. So I finished 2 things this year out of everything that I've stitched. It's been almost 365 days because I started counting, keeping track of that kind of thing on January 1st of this year. And the fact that the year is getting closer and closer to being over is just weird. Like, time needs to slow down. But I've only finished 2 things. 2 things, guys. And I have so many things on the go and so many more things I want to stitch and all of the patterns. I'm done. For 2018, at the very least, I'm going to do my best to stitch from stash. So, Stitch Your Old Stash, hashtag, Stitch Your Old Stash will be on Instagram. I will start that on January 1st. Gather up your stuff. Decide how much you want. I don't care. Don't decide whatever. Figure out your own plan. But if you're interested in participating, participate. I will be glad to have you along. And I think that is quite enough for today because I'm over an hour. Oh, one more quick thing. The Flosstube retreat. I know that there was some concern and upset over the Flosstube retreat that's happening next year in New Jersey. I don't know if there's going to be another one in Texas. The Flosstube retreat in New Jersey may be the Flosstube retreat. I am still going to try to put together a retreat on the West Coast in 2018, thinking March or April. So if you have an opinion on that, I know a couple people said that they would be interested in coming. I know that my stitchy people, my stitchy friends, my stitching group are interested in coming, but yeah, I'm still going to try to do it. I'm going for somewhere between 35 and 50 people. So I think it's going to cap at 50, at least for the first year. More details as I know them, more details as I figure them out. Cost and all that kind of stuff. If I do it, well, I will do it, but there will be a Facebook group for that as well. Facebook groups everywhere. Anyway, enough nonsense because I don't have any more details, but I'm still going to try to do it. I'm still going to talk to my Stitchy friends this weekend because we're getting together after Thanksgiving. Yay! And I will let you know when I know. And other than that, I hope, again, that those of you in the States or those of you who celebrate Thanksgiving, wherever you may be, have a fantastic Thanksgiving and that the drama around the table is not terrible. I hope that you are doing well. I hope that you are feeling well. I hope that the holiday season makes you happy, at least a little bit happy. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Oh, and in 2 weeks, I will have the results of my drawing. So go back to my last video. Look at my anniversary video if you have not already commented and mentioned if you are interested in anything that will be part of the giveaway. Do so on that video. Make sure you follow the rules, and I will have the results of the drawing for those things in my next video. Okay? Nice talking to you again. Bye.